Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B., and these are coffee break conversations for the 21st century. I've had a few cocktails tonight, so bear with me. So, sorry for missing a week last week. Had to take a little mental health break, so to speak. I'm fine, for the record. Just needed to decompress a little bit, get my thoughts together. Things are getting a little down to the wire. You know, the baby's going to be here in less than 2 months. The podcast is kind of a whole other job on its own. Requires a lot of work, and I needed to slow down. I got the COVID vaccine last week, and boy, it fucked me up, man. It really made things hard. So I don't know. I had to take some time off. So sorry, but hey, it's fucking free, so deal with it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, my guest this week is HESH JONES. You guys know him from the Three Ninjas podcast. He's been on here before. Cool guy. Like, it's just cool to talk to him. He posted a meme this week, and it made me think of a topic. And I just asked him on a whim. I said, "Hey, you want to come on the show and talk about this?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And so this one wasn't really planned that far in advance, but it was cool. I mean, Hesh is a cool guy. We get along. We have a lot in common. And it was just cool to talk to him about some of the stuff. So we kind of went all over the place, and it was good, though. It was fun. So I hope you guys enjoy it. This is my conversation with HESH JONES.
It's different when I have to pretend to be a human being and actually try to have a conversation with another human being.
How much of that is like how much of that is joking, and how much of that is like true? All right, you answered it perfectly. You don't even have to say nothing now.
It's a good like 50 40 60. It's a good listen. I don't really like at work, I don't talk. Like I said that I wasn't joking. At work, I don't talk to anybody. I'm at work. Like I spend the whole day. I will not speak to another human being if I don't have to. I won't speak to anyone all day. And then I come home and I won't really speak to anyone when I get in the house. I don't really talk to people. I wasn't joking. Like when I do the show, that is probably the most that I speak in the whole week ever. And it's not like an exaggeration. It's the actual fact.
Damn. But like, I gotta believe once you're around like your friends, like you're going out for your friend's birthday, like, well, after like 5 minutes, you're fine, right?
Yeah, that's a little. It is a little different. Yeah, my friends, I am. My issue is it just takes me a very, very long time to get comfortable around people, and if I don't know people, I'm not gonna be comfortable, and so I just don't say anything. And I'm very bad at small talk, so that's
Well, I'll give you that. I mean,
small talk.
I'm not really comfortable ever around people. I'm just good at like pretending like I am.
Oh. Alcohol helps apparently. One of my friends is here in the background because he came to my house because we gotta go. So now he's gonna be chiming in and saying dumb shit behind my back.
I say, if he had a phone or something, we can get him on too.
He does have a phone. You want to get on top?
This is not. I mean, listen.
Still trying to shine, right?
He's just trying to let you be great.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll just say like this. You got me thinking the other day when you posted that meme with the podcast thing. I was like, how often do you fucking listen to a show? Like, especially, when it's like podcasts, it's weekly. That becomes part of your routine and shit. I was thinking, how often like do we feel like we know these people, and then you realize like well, oh wait a second, I don't know this person at all. I listen to the show. To them, if I walked up to them on the street, I'm a fucking total stranger, and it's weird.
Yeah, well, obviously you do it, so it's like you spend like, especially if it's a show that you actually listen to consistently, you spend an hour of your week to an hour and a half, 2 hours of your week listening to a person, and depending on the type of show, they're gonna put personal anecdotes about your life. You're gonna like you talk about you're about to have a kid. Domino talked about the situation with his daughter when she was sick. I mean, when the Kobe Bryant thing happened, Bobby talked about the thing about his brother. Like there's like you get personal tidbits of his personal life, and you listen to them for so long, you get an idea of their personality, and then you feel like you know this person at some level. You might not know them intimately, like they're not your best friend in the world, but you feel like you know them.
It's weird because a podcast is essentially just a conversation that we would regularly have in real life. Mm-hmm. So you get to kind of hear the conversation. I mean, you can't chime in, but you're getting all that the same thing that someone in the room would be getting. So it kind of is like really knowing the person, assuming that they're being honest when they're telling stories.
But
it's
not
weird.
Just putting on like a
facade, not just a lot of guys say, "Oh, I'm just an amplified version of myself." It's like, well, what is that? What is that?
True.
You think so?
I agree with that. Yeah, it's like for me. So again, like I said, I don't really talk. Like on the show, I'm always saying stupid shit, and like I think with my friends, I absolutely do say stupid shit. Like, but like it is not necessarily the person that I am all the time, but it's not like a fake version of myself. Like that is the person I am. I do say dumb shit. I do make dumb jokes, and I like to crack jokes and have fun. But I'm not necessarily that person 100% of the time. Like I gotta, if I just got in the show and didn't say anything, it would be like a boring show. But normally that's probably more of who I am versus not. I'm more of this. I would just be quiet than like I'm cracking jokes and having fun and all that stuff.
It's funny, like just people in general. Sometimes you get in like, I don't know, you feel like you're in the mood some nights, and you just you feel like talking a lot, and then you still, like you said, you're still being yourself. You're not being somebody else, but at the same time, you're kind of not holding anything back also, which is weird because some people. Like go ahead.
Not saying like I'm making jokes that I would make in my real life. I'm doing saying stuff that I would say in my real life. It's not like, oh, I'm getting on the show and I'm gonna just be a completely different other human being. No, it's who I am. But, maybe just not who I am all the time.
Well, that was always weird to me because especially I was never somebody who was into like celebrities and stuff like that, and I don't really I didn't get starstruck with shit. But it's weird to hear someone or to watch someone on a show, especially like a podcast, because it really is supposed to be their authentic self, and then to see them in person and they don't seem like that person in real life. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah,
it's like, so you're full of shit. But then you got to, there's some people who would do that and are like, yo, you went up to the guy in the hospital. He's got his father on a stretcher and you're asking for a fucking picture.
Exactly.
What are you doing, man?
It's like, when did you talk to him? Where is this conversation happening? Like, was he in the middle of taking a piss? Maybe he doesn't want to talk to you with his dick in his hand. Maybe he was like, I'll talk to you when I'm done. Or maybe he's eating with his kids. It's like, hey, I'll talk to you in like 5 minutes. Like, let me, or whatever, So I know he's.
I lost your vocals.
When the person also matters.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Oh, by the way, cheers, buddy. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, salute. I don't think you can see it with my background.
There it is.
Yeah.
You get the old Toby Keith special. What are we drinking tonight?
I'm being a cheap whore, so I'm drinking Bacardi.
Oh, you got rum? I got rum too. I got the stuff.
Rum. Yes, this is my.
I got the
stuff. My usual go-to is rum.
This is the stuff I had for the episode 100. That? It's called Bamboo.
Oh, Bamboo.
I don't know
the Cuban stuff, right?
Nah, it's Caribbean, but I don't know exactly where it's from.
Oh, okay.
Barbados.
Barbados, okay.
Yo, I'll tell you what, man. This shit is pretty. It's nice. I got some little Dr. Pepper.
I got the Mountain Dew, not Mountain Dew, what the fuck is that shit? Canada Dry.
Oh, all right.
I forgot what fucking beer it was.
Same color bottle.
Was. Yeah, close enough, right? It's soda. It's just to pretend like this poison is not entering my body.
Just to mask it feeling my insides burning away.
Exactly.
So before we continue, we gotta address the elephant in the room. Unfortunately, yesterday DMX succumbed to his, whatever. I mean, the heart attack, OD, whatever you want.
Yeah, I guess he had a heart attack caused, I guess, by overdoses. Or what I've heard, haven't heard anything to contradict that, but I guess it came from an overdose, and I don't know overdose or what. But yeah.
It's weird, bro, because
it's unfortunate, man.
I can't think of too many other rappers. I feel like we're so, and I use this word. I'm using this word for a reason. Ubiquitous, in the sense where his music was just everywhere. It was every period of my life. There was always something with DMX, whether it's new or old. It didn't matter. Like he was always there. He was always in rotation in some way or another, in whatever music I was listening to. I mean, I don't know. I don't usually get upset. Like I said, I'm not into celebrity really, but this one kind of hurt. Like I wasn't into. I didn't know Nipsey Hussle like everybody did. So when he passed, it's sad, but I didn't feel it the way a lot of other people did. This is different for me personally. I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah, this one hurt a little. Same with you. I'm not. Like when the Kobe died, I didn't cry. Like any loss of life is sad to me. Like I'm not gonna downplay that. This one is a little different. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like now that he's dead that I was, oh my God, I was the biggest DMX fan and I know every lyric to all his songs and I love them so much. But I do think you can't be a person my age who's even remotely into hip hop and not know how kind of special DMX was and how prevalent his music was, especially, I think his first debut came out like 98.
98. He had two albums dropping that year. He had It's Dark and Hell is Hot and Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood.
Flesh and Blood of My Blood. That was what? 13 or whatever. And then, then there was X came out. I must as a high school. Like, so, he's one of those rappers that have been prevalent in my life, especially like in my formative years. So I'm not, so this one is definitely, and you can just tell how special of a person he was. So this one definitely does hurt. I'm not going to sit here and like, oh, he's my favorite. And now he was like, I love DMX the most and everything. I'm not going to try to act like this now that he's dead. But it definitely is one of those things like this is a major, major blow to a lot of people. And he was really prolific,
Yeah.
And it's
an iconic guy. The voice and everything.
Funny.
Yeah.
I mean, just so funny and and even like in the shit that he was doing, he's getting in trouble. He fucking what was that?
Impersonating a federal officer.
Impersonating a federal officer. Like who? Like the only that's some DMX shit. Like that's some shit that like only DMX could get away with doing. Like
I could tell you this is what
pretending to be a federal officer.
This is what everybody said when they heard that. He did what? There you go.
Yeah.
There he goes. That's him. Yeah, that's Dark Man. That's him.
Yeah, exactly.
I had like an epiphany because of DMX's music. Bear with me because you're gonna laugh at this probably because you're gonna get it too. DMX made me realize that because of my nerdy side, I'll never be as cool as I want to be. Because my nerdy side is always gonna cause me to put my foot in my mouth. It's always gonna and I'm gonna tell you why. In the song "Get at Me, Dog," okay.
Yep.
So in the first verse, he literally has the lyric. He's like, "You get the bitches, I'll commit the crime. When it's on, we transform like Optimus Prime. I'll form the head. Roll out. Let's make it happen." He said, "Wait a minute. You just sandwiched a Voltron reference in between two Transformers references, and because of that, like I can't not listen to the song, and I kind of every time that verse comes up, I have to like sigh." Yeah, that's not right, bro. Like I get what you're trying to do. It was close, but it's not. That's not it.
Actually, Voltron and Transformers aren't the same thing. No, exactly.
That reminds me. Patton Oswalt, the comedian, right?
Yeah.
He had a bit where he talking about the same kind of thing. Like he was in this class when he was in college, and it was called Physics for Poets. So it was like the head of the physics department was trying to do physics for like English majors and people that suck at math and science and stuff. So he was trying to do all this stuff. So he on like one of the tests he was doing like a distance and velocity question, but he framed it where he was like, if the USS Enterprise is going through warp speed at this this speed and Chekhov fires the phasers at this, how long will it? So he said my friend tells a story where I got up. I walked all the way to the front of the auditorium, and nobody knows what I'm saying, but everybody can see that I'm very angry and very specific about something. So he said, and I came back, and then the teacher got up, and he said, "I've just been informed that on question 43, Sulu fires the phasers on the
check
USS
off, like,
Enterprise.
communications officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
this made the question impossible to answer, please bring your blue books to my TA. That's what I kept thinking about. I don't.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Like you gotta get it right, man. You gotta say the right.
Yeah.
You gotta
if you're trying to reach out to
say
us,
the right
you know,
shit.
if you're trying to reach out to us like comic nerds and stuff, at least do it right, because you're only going to make it worse for
Yeah.
yourself. So, yeah, I mean, before we move on from DMX, I was asking my wife yesterday because
Yes, sir.
me and my buddies had this thing where at all of our weddings, we would always, like, at the end of the night, we would make the DJ play DMX because that was what we grew up with. So it was cool. At my wedding, we were in New Orleans, and after the thing was over, we had to like get out of the venue real fast because I like barely had enough money to fucking cover everything. So like, oh no, it's over now. Like you guys need to be gone.
Yeah.
So
What time is it?
Yeah, everybody, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah, you gotta get the hell out of here.
So we ended up going out onto Bourbon Street afterwards, and we went to this place. You know, there wasn't that many people in it, but I talked to the DJ. I was like, "Hey, man, listen, it was my wedding night. Do you think you could hook me up? Just play a couple DMX songs for me?" He's like, "You guys wanted to hear DMX?" I was like, "Yeah, because it's a bunch of like white and Hispanic people there." They were like, he was like, "Yeah, that's fine with me." Like, I want to make sure you know what you're asking for. I was like, "Yeah."
DMX, right? Man X, that guy. Yeah.
Earl Simmons,
the one who barks a lot.
Yeah,
the one who barks a lot. That guy. Okay, cool.
Look under S. Is it under S for Simmons? Maybe I don't know. But yeah, that was always our thing. So I don't know. That's like I said, he was always every stage of my life. His music was there in one form or another. Anyway, so no, cheers to
yes.
X.
Rest in peace to him. Mm-hmm.
Prayers up. So. What is some of what podcast do you listen to? Because I know, like, I'm always curious to what other podcasters listen to, if anything.
So, you mentioned that earlier. The podcasts that I prefer to listen to generally are conversational ones. Ones where people are. I don't like listen to like Serial. I mean, I've listened to Serial before, but that's not necessarily my bag. I'm not particularly listening to something to be 100% informed. I'm not listening to a podcast that's informative. I'm generally looking for ones that are conversational. So Mark Maron was a big one early on for me. I used to listen to the Nerdist podcast with Chris Hardwick. I used to listen to that a lot. My number one absolute favorite podcast right now that I tried my best not to miss is Joe Budden's podcast. That's my favorite podcast at the moment. Then Brilliant Idiots I enjoy. Flagrant 2, Andrew Schultz thing he has with Akash Singh I enjoy. And then there's some ones that's more informational, but it's nerd based. So I'll do IGN's Game Scoop, and they have the Podcast Unlock, which is their Xbox podcast. And then Podcast Beyond, I'll check in every once in a while. That's the PlayStation podcast. And then there's just some random shit that I'll click on every once in a while. Like Horrible Decisions, I'll look at singles on the thing and I'm like, do I think I want to listen to this? Then I might click on it. So that one's random. And because I fuck with Joe Budden's podcast so much, he has
he's got some drama going on right now, right? With
now, unfortunately, that's I don't know what's gonna happen with that. It does seem like at least one of the co-hosts is definitely not coming back. It seems like that. I mean, we'll see, but the other one maybe, but one of them is definitely. It seems like he's not coming back, which sucks because I like the dynamic.
But would you say that, like, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of what happened in that situation, but the gist I got from like Twitter and shit like that was that he kind of got a little big for his britches. Joe got let the fame and the I don't know, the renown, whatever, go to his head a little bit. And does that mean, would you say that's accurate?
Not necessarily from my take of it, from what I know. I don't know if that's necessarily 100% accurate. And obviously, I'm not there. I don't know what actually really happened. From what I could tell, it's a thing where basically, obviously, so he started 2 new podcasts. He's making a network. And I think some of the issues were the other 2 co-hosts were sort of questioning, necessarily maybe were some of, like, I guess maybe they felt like he was using the money that belongs to them for funding that. And I think plus some other stuff that might be behind the scenes. I think one of the hosts was engaged, and I do think, even though they haven't said that publicly, I do think that that engagement did not continue. I do think so he was, I think, personally going through some things, and there was some turmoil, which basically turned, if you watch shows for a while, there was some hostility in like the very last show before they left. So basically, every once in a while, the Rory, the white guy on the show, like they say something, he'd be like, "Yo, we can fight." Like, we want to close that fight. Like he's bringing up very often, and I think on the very last show that they were both on, he said some shit, and it's like, well, Rory, you're my friend, and I don't want to fight you. And Rory's like, yo, we're not friends. So I think there was some like friend beat, because they were friends, because obviously they're friends first before they did show. So I think there was some friend turmoil on top of podcast turmoil. So I think what happened was, so then Joe was like, hey man, you can't be on the show like just threatening to fight me all the time. He's like, why don't you take some vacation time or take some time off the show or whatever. And I think the other guy on the show, Maul, was like, if we're in this all together and you're not my boss, who are you to tell Rory to take vacation time or take time off the show? And then I think that initiated Joe and Maul having a conversation, and then where it went left is, I guess, the conversation might have went to some other shit and it didn't go well. And the one thing I don't know these people personally in real life. The one thing I feel like I know about Maul is he does seem to be a very principled person. Like he has a set of morals, and that he sort of sticks to them. And I feel like if you cross a certain level, he's just gonna say, I'm done with you. And I think whatever that conversation ended up being, I think Joe might have taken it too far. And Joe's problem, that again, I don't know him personally, but it comes up, it seems that he.
But hang on. You kind of do know him personally. You've been listening to the show for how long? You know, you get to
like
know
4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, you get to know a person.
Well, I know aspects of him. I know the person that he's on the show. I don't know him. You know, obviously, I don't know the intimate details of his in life. And obviously, I was a fan of his music before the podcast, which is why I went to the podcast. So I do know a bit about Joe Budden, but I think he's an abrasive person, and he has a tendency of speaking to people in a demeaning way and in a abrasive way. And for some people I think can get past it. Some people can't. And it depends on what you say. And obviously I don't know what he said to him, but he must have said something that really, it just, whatever. And that's my gathering of what actually happened. So I feel like him and Rory are, even if Rory doesn't come back on the show, I think in a way, friendship-wise, they might be able to make something work. Him and Maul, it seems like, I think Maul might just be like, I'm out. That's what it seems like. Again, we'll see how the tables turn in a couple of weeks. I'm going to give it a couple of more weeks. If by May we don't have an answer, I'm going to be like, it's done.
See, now, I'm gonna be straight up. I'm biased a little bit in this case, because I automatically am going to assume that, like, whoever's name is on the show, Joe Budden, it's his show. You know, at the end of the day, it's his name on the title. You know, and if it's a big show, which it is, you know, he's got it. Maybe it goes to his head a little bit. I think that happens very often. And like I said, I'm biased, so I'm assuming that's what happens. And especially if he's an abrasive guy. He
absolutely has an ego.
Yeah, the ego tends to. Everybody gets obsessed with dick swinging. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but again. But also, I feel like, and again, don't know him, but he does have an ego. But I also feel like
you know him, goddammit, you know him.
I also feel like he definitely tries to be a decent person. I just feel like he gets in his own way a lot.
Well, there's a lot of people like that.
Principled in a certain sense. Yeah,
I like Joe Rogan, but I think that at this point,
Joe Rogan's another one.
I think at this point he's become so famous and the show has gotten so big that his day-to-day, his world that he lives in, is no longer the same world that the rest of us live in. And I think that stuff like that really affects people, and it affects their perspectives on things and their outlook on life in general. I think that happens a lot, you know, like Brilliant Idiots. I listen to Brilliant Idiots every week, but it's not the same Brilliant Idiots now that it was 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
It is not the same. When I
It's
like was
not
it a couple
same.
like 2 months ago, you hear fucking Charlemagne and Andrew Schultz arguing about like tax codes and stuff, and they're tired of paying taxes. It's like, come on, guys, like, can you be any less relatable right now? That's the shit that drives me crazy.
So with that one,
I still like Wax though. I still like Wax.
Wax is a different human being. That is just a different person. And I will not speak ill of Wax because I know Wax can kill me because it has a very large, muscular black man and he can beat the shit out of me. But I approach people where they're at. So I understand that conversation. I understand why they're having that conversation. Charlemagne is making a lot of money. And he's now has his own podcast network. Mm-hmm. Andrew Schultz he's killing it right now. Like his career is the best it's probably ever been. So now he's reached a new tax bracket. So now he's encountering that type of shit that he wasn't encountering before. The thing,
not only is Schultz like up there, but he knows it, and especially in the circle, if you listen to like other comedians and stuff, they're always throwing his name out there because of how he, his meteoric rise, because he did it all on his own terms. He didn't do it through networks. He used the internet to do it. Exactly. So he was a trailblazer, and credit given where credit is due. He really did that shit. So, but and you can, funny. Yeah.
If you watch any of his clips, like that's the other thing too. Like if you watch any of his clips and you actually sit there and watch, like he is funny, and like because most of the stuff he'll usually post is not his actual set. I don't believe it's usually his crowd work stuff, and he'll do that shit. And like if you watch it, so that's crowd work is off the top of the head type of shit. And if you watch it, like he's a funny guy. Like again, he might say some shit that you don't agree with because it's offensive to you.
Everybody does once in a while.
If you step back from that, you're like, that's some funny shit. That's some well thought out on the fly. So like I respect Andrew Schultz because that's a funny motherfucker. To me, that's a funny motherfucker. And I think the reason why is because he tries to follow Patrice O'Neal's philosophy, and I like Patrice O'Neal. Patrice O'Neal's one of the funniest motherfuckers. Period. So I think he tries to delineate from that cloth. So I think
he definitely
that's the kind of shit.
He learned a lot from Patrice, and also I think he learned enough where he was able to avoid some of the pitfalls that Patrice fell into himself. Because Patrice got in his own way a lot. Because he was, Absolutely. I mean, you ask any comedian, he gets in his own way. Yeah, he was one of the best to do it. Died too soon, so he didn't have that breadth of material that a lot of people
could not get out of his own way to save his life because he wanted to be authentic, but he wanted to do his shit his way too. I don't think he wanted to feel like he was selling his soul a little bit just to try to get in his face. It's like, fuck these people. I don't need your validation. I'm gonna do this shit and fuck you and need a dig but
you're right. But
sometimes you gotta maybe not be so abrasive. Yeah. You might need to maybe not be so abrasive so we can just get this show done. And that's unfortunate because he is funny. He is funny.
It'd be great if once in a while people didn't leave the theater in tears. I'm just throwing it out there,
yeah. Don't make the pregnant lady cry.
But yeah, I don't know. I was like ready to go on a tangent there for a sec too, because you mentioned Schultz. Sometimes sometimes people say things you don't agree with. But it's like, no, you just still respect that they're talented, that they're doing something it's worth listening to, even if you don't like everything. But that's everybody. And I think people nowadays need to get more comfortable with that idea of being able to hear things that they don't agree with and not, fall into fucking pieces.
Yeah, and that was part of the point I was going to make with the Brilliant Idiots in the past. I didn't necessarily agree with what Schultz, because, I mean, for a while there was this alt-right Andy thing that was going on just because he was, but I understand what he was trying to do. He just wasn't executing it necessarily 100% the right way. He was, from what I gathered from him, it was like he doesn't like people who just blindly believe anything. Yeah. Who just blindly like, I'm a Democrat, so I blindly have to do this. He's like,
which is fair.
I want people to question everything. Yeah, which is fair. So his thing was every time, because Charlemagne, because he's become more political in the last few years. So he was having these people on who are maybe uber Democratic, and he was like, well, and he was challenging them, and he's also trying to be like, just because And I agree with him. Just because somebody's a Republican doesn't necessarily mean that that person is a bad person. Like you gotta shift that. You gotta like look at the person for the person. You can be a Republican and not be a bad person. Like some people who are Republican, their thing is I just want small government and I don't want to, and I want to pay less taxes. Most people don't really want to pay a lot of taxes. That doesn't make that person a bad person because they're a Republican. It means like I don't really want the government to tell me what the fuck to do with my life, and I don't want to spend a lot of money to the government. That doesn't make you a bad person. But some people are like, "Oh, you're Republican, you're a piece of shit," and I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to. I take that person on the value of what they say, what they believe, and the things that they're backing. So just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're a bad person. But maybe the people that in your party that you're backing aren't great people, and then that's a conversation to be had somewhere down the road.
That's
just
always
because someone's
because there's so many people like
triggering.
they're very quick to speak up when it's someone who's not on their team, but when their own team is doing it, then all of a sudden, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, bro, you're making yourself look bad right now, and you're making the rest of us look bad. Like you gotta call it where you see balls and strikes.
Yeah, that's why I like Joe Rogan, because you brought up Joe Rogan, and his thing is even if he doesn't necessarily agree with the person, he is willing to have the person on the show sometime, just to have them, even if it's like, just say, come on the show and say your crazy thing. I might not agree with the crazy thing you're saying.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I have some very specific thoughts about Rogan on that point.
Yeah,
he was always that was always his thing. Like he brings on people from all sides and you just have a conversation. It is what it is. But you can clearly see in the past year and a half, especially since he moved to Texas, there is a big rightward swing. Especially considering he'll have people on, especially. He'll always, whenever it's a right wing or like a right leaning person come on, he'll let them talk and let them go, and he rarely challenges them or rarely pushes back on stuff, even when they're saying shit that's patently false or is just out of fucking left field, like he just did with the fucking guy with eye patch. What's his name? Dan Crenshaw,
the Congress guy.
Yeah, Dan Crenshaw. He's had him on a couple times.
The guy that Pete Davidson made fun of.
Yeah. Which, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying the guy's a bad person. I'm saying the guy is inconsistent. And the problem is, you can't expect a host to know everything a person has said and tweeted in their history. So I'll give him a pass there. But the problem is, he's always ready to push back when it's like one of his left-leaning friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I gotta assume that comes from like living in LA for so many years. You're surrounded by left-leaning people. But to me, it's like, well, don't call yourself down the middle. Don't you're so fast. Oh, I'm a liberal. I always voted this way. Blah blah blah. But it's like, but you never really have anything to push back on the right. Like you let Alex Jones come on there say whatever the fuck he wants, which I'll give him credit. He kind of pushes back. But you let like Candace Owens come on. You let fucking Ben Shapiro come on, and he'll let fucking Dan Crenshaw come on. And it's like I'm seeing a pattern. Like I still like Joe. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I notice it. I see it. I see the shift.
I think especially now, I think some of that comes from where he was living at the time when this Corona stuff was happening.
Yeah,
and
California fucked it up.
The type of work that he does. And he's a stand-up. Nothing's open. He can't do shit, and I think he's seeing them really kind of not handling that well. So that's going to probably maybe affect the way you think about things, and maybe forces him to maybe not be as strong against them as he probably once would have been. Just because he's like, I don't know, you guys really dropped the ball on this.
I mean,
these guys seem like they would have done better.
I get it. I mean, if at the end of the day, which I think you're probably not far off on that one. Whatever. I got fucking Spotify, so I can keep listening to the show. Okay. It is what it is. Some episodes I listen to. Some episodes I listen to. Some I just skip right by, which is fine.
I mean, his shit is like fucking 4 hours. So so some of them I definitely skip. Like, who's that? Do I want to? No, I'm not listening to that shit.
Some of them, especially when he has like a scientist and shit. I'm like, listen, bro, I'm at work. I need a little bit of energy. You guys are putting me to sleep here.
Yeah.
Do you? Have you listened to Sal Vulcano, the guy? He's one of the Impractical Jokers. Did you ever watch that show?
I've seen the show. I don't intimately. I think I know who that is. Barely.
So he just started 2 podcasts like towards the end of last year, and one like they're both good. One of them is called Taste Buds. It's him and this comedian Joe DeRosa, where they literally just pick a food and they argue about it for like 45 minutes, and then they do like a Twitter poll to see who which people like the best.
That sounds good. That sounds right up my alley.
It's not bad. But he has another one with this other comedian, this guy Chris DiStefano. He used to be on History Hyenas. And the two of them together, it's called Hey Babe. And I got to tell you, it's shot to like the top of my list since I started listening.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you why, because it's just the two of them. It's not like a kind of like a gimmick like the other one is. It's just them talking, like telling stories and stuff. But the two of them together, I feel like it's like two guys that were kind of brought up in they're from like New York. Both one's from Brooklyn, one's from Staten Island, and in that area, and Jersey is much the same in this way, where it's a lot of like Italians, and it was similar to a lot of other cultures where it was like you're trying to look tough, you're trying to be, your father's always more of a man than you're ever gonna be, and you're always trying kind of living in his shadow, and it's a bunch of fucking ginzo assholes all trying to fucking put each other down, but they're like. They did this thing where they're kind of just open about like, hey, sometimes I do shit that people say is gay and whatever. I'm not like, I'm just who I am, and it's kind of like free where it's like, oh, I'm not like trying to fucking look tough. I'm not trying to look cool. We're just being silly and joking around.
Just having fun.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about trying to be a representation of the thing.
Exactly. And it's so much fun. Like they're funny and they just fucking tell ridiculous stories. And I really like that. Like when when you can like kind of get to know somebody through the show and say, I want to go hang out with this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every time, like I had the same thing with you guys. You guys would talk about like a movie or something I like, and I wanted to sit there and it's like argue back with you and like fucking make jokes.
I think that's a mark of a good show. Like that's happened to me too. I've listened to a show and they're saying something like, "Oh, that's not right," and I'm like, "Oh, what are you saying?" Oh, like when you're listening back or listening to it, and you're like, "Oh, I want to engage in this conversation." I think that's I think how you keep people because they're connected to you. Like, and I think that's the one good. I mean, there's probably a few good things, but that's one of the good things about our show, particularly. Is I do feel like we have really great chemistry.
Yes.
And then I think what that happens is we have a good back and forth banter. So then the listeners feel that, and then that makes them want to participate in the dumbass conversations that we're having. And like, so I'll say something stupid, and then Bobby will alley-oop it, and then Domino will dunk it. And they're like, oh, that's funny. Like, and then like, and the people who listen are like, "Oh, that's funny," and I would have said this, or like, "Ha ha ha!" Like I get that ref, or it's
set it up,
and I
you hit it with the ground
allows the people to feel like they're part of it. Yeah, the grounded, exactly. So I think that's one of the things that works for our show the best. I think and honestly, that's the best part of our show. Like the information is whatever. We're barely informed about shit half of the time. Most of the time, I think it's just an excuse for us to get around and just say dumb shit to each other, right? I think one of these days it'd be fun to just have an episode where we just don't even have any topics and just see what the fuck happens. That might be a good or a bad thing, maybe, but I think that would be fun to just see that because I think that's what makes our show good. The information is good sometimes, but I think it's the dynamic between us three is what really makes it good.
Yeah, I think that those are the most fun episodes too, when you just let the conversation go where it goes. Because
and we will take a tangent.
But that's the thing though, like with you guys, I mean, I know like you and Dom have known each other for a long time. And you can tell when a friendship is organic, when there's history behind it. You know what I mean? When it's not just like, hey, we're friendly for the show, we joke around. But no, like you could tell when people are familiar with each other. It's like that freedom to be a little bit more aggressive, but in a fun way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can bust each other's balls and not worry about
just a little bit more. Yep.
Yeah, and that's something that you
like
can't. You can't fake.
Like he'll say stuff to me that I'm sure if it was someone else he probably wouldn't say because he's known me for so long. And the same thing, I'll say some like I made some dumbass joke about his dad, and like that's not something I don't think Bobby would necessarily make that joke to him, but I did. Like it's like there's a little like because I've known him since I was like 8. You know,
I know you. I know the kids. I know the kids in 3rd grade made fun of you and said your dreads smelled like Black Forest ham. You know, but that's fine. We're friends. I don't know. I just made that up.
And I'm not gonna say he act like, oh, we're the best friends in the world. But he's a person that has been a consistent presence in my life since youth. Like I'm not gonna sit here. Oh, we're best friends and we hung out all the time. No, but we definitely hung out. We were friends in school, and then we happened to go to the same high school. We stayed friends, and then we went to the same college. So we definitely hung out there, and then we've hung out. We got drunk together, and outside of that, and then after that, we just kept in contact, and we've hung out a few times. So it was like he's cousins with my godbrother, which is another. So that's a different thing. But so he's been constant in my life. Bobby, I met the day we did our first show.
Really? That was the first time you met him?
That's the first time I met Bobby. The day we did our first show. So that's the rub. That's the thing that I like the most is like me and Bobby get along, and I think it's a combination of the fact that Bobby is one of the most like if I didn't know Bobby was smart, I wouldn't know that because Bobby is he's the king of just aloof. Now he's just to me, he is just living his life, and he doesn't really have to give a fuck about what anyone else thinks, and he will do what he wants, whatever he wants, and he doesn't take. To me, it seems like he doesn't really take a lot of stuff seriously. So he's just chill, and I am generally a pretty mellow person for the most part. So I think we get along because we both are kind of like, okay, it's whatever. Like it's like we don't like, Domino is generally the more passionate one. He is generally the one who I think gets riled up on things the most compared to us both. So I think that's why me and Bobby get along, and I like that. But I think we text. No, go ahead.
I was saying Dom reminds me of my dad in the way that like I could see when shit bothers my dad. You know what I mean? Like you see if something got under his skin. And it doesn't take a lot. You know, somebody just has to say something just a little left, and like, what? What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
This is my passionate. Dad. This is my dad. My dad. You know something. You're a real fucking jerk. You know that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's passionate. That's the word I'll use. Because I think I started using the word angry too much, and he didn't like it.
And we have to talk about his beef with Michael B. Jordan. You know,
I don't know what Michael B. Jordan did to him. I don't know what Michael B. Jordan or Kevin Hart did to him, but both of them dudes is on his shit list for the rest of their lives, and listen, I don't know what.
I guarantee you Dom's listening. But anyway, this is to him. Dom, I understand what he's talking about. Because it's like, that's the same thing Hollywood and any industry, anything like big corporations, is what they do. When something is popular, when, Kevin Hart hit finally, after like Seriously Funny came out, and all of a sudden he was like the hottest comic out there, the same thing happened with Michael B. Jordan. Like when Michael B. Jordan hit, they want to put him in everything. They want to flood the market with it. And it's like you take something good and you ruin it by oversaturating everything. It's the same thing to do, and they did that with those two guys. It's just like the argument where they say, "How come we don't have more black people? We don't have more black movie stars, and how come we don't have more black actors in these films?" It's like, "Oh, well, we have Kevin Hart and Michael B. Jordan. We put them in everything." It's like, no, that's not the same fucking thing. And that's the thing.
I understand that sentiment. My only thing is, necessarily that's not their fault. That's not on don't take that on them, right?
You're right.
I just want to have a job. I just want to do the thing. This seems like a cool script. I just want to keep doing it.
And here's
I got a job? Cool.
You're right. And at the same time, this is again why Dom reminds me of my dad. Because my dad, I understand he's not always bound by logic, It's like I get it. It doesn't really make sense. It's not their fault. But I guess I kind of grew up with that thing where it's like, I get you're mad. I know you're kind of directing it at this guy, and it's not his fault either, but you're just going to go off. I get it. Like, you're not hurting anybody. You're not actually, following the fucking guy home. So, it is what it is. That's kind of why I understand. Like, It's just someone to direct it at. Even he's not sending him angry fucking DMs and shit. At least I hope not.
I doubt it. I don't know. I wouldn't put. No, let me stop. I know he's gonna hear. Let me stop. But
maybe he wasn't really on vacation. He went out there. He would fucking track Mike down.
Where Mike at? I know he's here. I saw him in Lori. I know him and Lori out here. I came for them. I know he out in Oklahoma. Let's go. Where he at?
Yo, where Wallace at?
What's Wallace String? What's Wallace?
He's hitting the intercom on the fucking front gate. Where the boy at, String?
Where's Wallace String?
Oh, I want to go back to one of the things that you said before. We were talking about, you have your chemistry with Dom and Bobby on the show. Obviously, you guys, I've watched you guys grow for the last several years now since I've been listening. And it's great to see. It's weird to tell somebody. This is totally unrelated here. Do you ever you see somebody, especially if it's somebody you look up to, or somebody maybe who's like somebody like a mentor at work or something like that, but you see something good happen for somebody, I want to say like, oh, I'm proud of you. But I always feel like when you tell somebody you're proud of them, it always kind of feels condescending.
It comes off.
Right?
Yeah, I feel you. I understand, especially something like this, because you feel like you're part of it. I've watched you grow. I've watched you develop as a person, and I am genuinely proud of the things that are happening in your life, and I am proud for you and of you of the things that you're accomplishing.
Been following you since you were knee-high to a duck.
Exactly, and I want to express that to you, but I don't want it to come off a certain way, so I can understand necessarily, maybe not saying it.
That's a weird thing. But either way, I've been following you guys, and I'm just very happy to see that you guys are growing and having, success. People are finding you. And you mentioned before, like, having people hear it and being able to identify and relate to what you guys are saying. How often, have you met people like listeners, like fans even, especially because you guys did BlurredCon the other,
It was 2 years ago now. Well, we met...
You met James?
We met. Yes, we met James. We met
Shout out to
James Watts. Shout out to James Watts.
He's listening right now. So.
Oh, is he? Oh,
yeah, I think he is.
Oh, shout out to James Watts. I fuck with James Watts. He's a crazy individual. I love James
supportive
Watts.
guy. He's a supportive guy.
He is 1,000,000% support. If he fuck with you, he will absolutely support you. I don't know if we're necessarily on the best terms at the moment, but I do fuck with James Watts. So if he is listening, shout out to you. I miss you, dog. But it's cool.
Philly's crazy. That's all it is.
Nah, yeah.
Philly's a crazy city. I was born there. I was born in Philly. It's a crazy city. Okay, it is what it is.
So he is the only listener that I personally met. I feel like Domino met Curtis, I believe, when he went to Chicago, but don't quote me if it's Curtis. I don't know if it's Curtis. I don't want to get that right. Domino met someone else when he went to Chicago. I don't remember off the top of my head. Domino will be able to say that. But James is the only fan personally that I met. But that was fun. Like at the Blurred, it was fun. He is a ball of fun. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I know me and him maybe not are on the best terms right now, but he's a ball of fun. He is a fucking when he's good, he's good. It's just that when there's some stuff that
you don't have to get into.
You don't have to get into, but when he's good, he's good. He's a ball of fun, and that was interesting because that's the first time meeting somebody who listened to the show and was like, "Yo, I fuck with y'all. Y'all are like, I love what y'all do."
Mm-hmm.
That was and Sierra. I forgot Sierra was there. I apologize, Sierra. Let me not forget about Sierra because that is respectful. And again, that's another thing. That was fun too. And she's fun too. She is funny as shit. She is fucking funny. So that was interesting to meet and both at BlurredCon.
Hey, at the same time, what we're doing right now
at the same time.
That too.
Yeah. To meet people who listen to the show, it's like you listen to the dumb things that I say and then you like it, and I also apologize for every dumb thing I've ever said because I'm sorry. But thank you for fucking with it. It's an interesting thing, man, because it's like we know people. Like I know people listen, but also at the same time, I feel like I'm just talking to the air, right? Or I'm just having fun with my friends. Like so, I sort of tend to forget that no, people are actually listening to this and they're hearing that stupid thing you just said, and now it's gonna live on in perpetuity because
why do you get so in your head of you say stupid things? Like, you're making a joke. Like, that's what the show is. Like, you don't say anything that's going to be offensive. I don't think. Like, I mean,
on purpose? I don't say anything purposefully offensive. That Easy E thing will haunt me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but come on, that was nothing. That was the way people talk off the air.
Yeah, listen, it was funny as fuck. I'm not gonna act like it wasn't funny. It was funny as fuck. But that will haunt me for the rest of my life. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
That was early on, too. That was early on.
Yeah, it was early. So it was funny, but it's one of the things, like, if his family was able to come up and be like, yo, that was disrespectful, I was like, yeah, you're right, it was. I apologize, but it was funny. Like, it was absolutely funny.
Hey, fuck them if they can't take a joke, all right?
Yeah, so every once in a while there are things that are sort of like on that line of like, yeah, this is funny, but I can understand where maybe somebody would have an issue with that. So that's why I say I didn't say stupid things. But yeah, no, you're right. We're just having fun. I can't speak for the other two guys, but I can assume we don't set out purposefully to like hurt anyone's feelings or anything. But
and you're not purposely trying to be shocking and shit.
No, but we are three guys in our mid-30s who grew up a certain way. We speak a certain way. We have certain way of viewing things that are necessarily not quite aligned, maybe with 100% of how the world has kind of shifted itself. So I do know that some of the things we have said and will probably continue to say are gonna at some point bump heads with something. I know that unfortunately that's going to eventually happen, especially if we do continue to get to grow the show. It's going to happen eventually. And there's been times where we had to like change things or alter stuff on the show just because we was like, that's a little much.
Yeah,
we had to take some stuff out.
I mean, I feel like the whole cancel culture thing is kind of past the point where it's jumped the shark now, where it's a little like people, the general public especially, I feel like it's kind of at the point where they're just like, all right, guys, come on, this is getting a little silly at this point. Like in the beginning, it was all well intentioned, like you're trying to, make things more equitable, make things more fair for people that didn't have a voice before. That's great, but at some point, it's just like outrage porn. You know what I mean? Like, you're just looking for any reason to be mad. And this stuff doesn't have to make sense. You're not, like, some people... The problem is that we all judge, like, a group by its loudest, craziest fringe. You know what I mean? Like, those are the ones that we're always referring to, no matter who we're talking about, whether it's right, left, up, down, left, right, doesn't matter. Like, we're always referring to the craziest
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're never referring to the people that are actually making the points.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like,
it's unfortunate.
Like, I mean, the last episode I did, shout out to Matt Marcellus, but like his band essentially got canceled because of something that this guy did.
The singer, was apparently,
something that happened before the band was even formed. Which is wild, and which is
also wild because he's in a band that had fucking Johnny Craig in it, and they were able to. and the other guy was also doing some wild shit. He was like, "Oh, if Johnny didn't stop the band, but this guy stopped the band, you might have did a little something." Like if they were able, he was able to move from Johnny to them and keep it going, but then whatever he did was like, he was like, I think that's, or at least for him, I guess it's done for him and Amoroso, I believe, right, is what he was saying. I don't know if the band necessarily is 100% done.
I'm pretty sure the band is done. On. Yeah, but I don't think Matt's
is probably done too. Yeah,
I think Matt
might find something else.
Yeah, I think he's just a little burnt out because all those years of touring, it really takes a toll on you.
Yeah, I listen to the show. That's understandable, especially going through some of that stuff he was saying and just not getting paid right, and then obviously before he was even an official member of the band, just sort of being tormented is the word I'll use, I guess, while trying to, I guess, pay his dues or just figure it out. So I can understand maybe like, this thing that I thought was about to be like rocket off into space just the whole floor got taken underneath me, I need to take a.
Well, see,
I need to take a breather. I need to take a knee and.
Yeah. That's the thing that's hard about a band, especially when you have people in the band that are really good at what they do. Like, say what you will, Bradley was a great singer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's hard to replace a good singer.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's almost like they hold you hostage. Like, I've been in bands, where the certain members is like, I don't know if we could replace you if we really needed to. If it came down to it, I don't think we could find somebody that could do what you do. And essentially, it's like having a gun to your head, where it's like, fuck, I want to argue with you right now, but I don't want to risk you fucking getting up and walking out. And that shit fucking every day, man, it weighs on you so much.
Especially with lead singers, unfortunately, good or bad, they become sort of like the face of the whole band, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And even if instrument wise everyone is fucking killing it and they're doing shit that other people haven't do, most people generally are focusing on the lyrics being sung by that person, even if the person didn't write the lyrics, but the lyrics being sung by that person. And if you switch that person or whatever, it becomes a different thing for them. It's like, well,
it's almost a whole different band at that point.
Yeah, I like that band because it sounded this way because this person's voice sounded that way and he was singing or she was singing it this way. This other person isn't that person. I'm not listening to this. And that's unfortunate. That I think there's probably a handful of bands who are able to switch the lead singer and probably keep going and be successful or more successful.
But so back to what we were saying, but my point that I was going to make was that with them, like, it wasn't even like there was some kind of public outrage like about them. Like, that was all like the company, like the management, the label, that was their decision to do that. And it's gotten to the point now where all it takes is like a couple fucking talking eggs on Twitter to say something. Yep. And now these corporations are just bowing down. They're taking a knee. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, what about the other millions of us out here that didn't have a problem? Like, we were able to say, okay, listen. Yeah. Did you learn a lesson? Are you sorry? All right, don't do it again, and let's try to move forward. Is
that behavior still happening? Were you like 18? Like, I mean,
if you keep doing it, then fuck you. But they're canceling people right off the bat.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. It's not the people canceling them. It's like the corporations that are afraid of some kind of backlash.
Yeah, they don't want they don't want negative press. They don't want backlash. They don't want. And here's the thing: it's not even like real backlashes because this stuff doesn't last long. Generally, it's a week. It's 2 weeks.
It goes away.
3 weeks max, unless you did some super off the wall egregious shit. It's a couple of weeks, and then people aren't talking about it because the next thing happens. But you got to feel like in that moment, you got to stand up and do something. I would like to see some people stand by people if that person, if whatever they like. I don't know all the specifics of the Bradley thing, so I won't necessarily try to put this backing on him. But like in general, like if what they did wasn't super egregious, or maybe it was a mistake they made when they was like 17, and then they kind of learned from it and grew from it. I don't know if that's necessarily you should be completely canceled for that. Like I speaking of Brilliant Israel, Charlemagne has he always says, what was it? They've never let Malcolm Little turn into Malcolm X. Because
they don't give people a chance to grow.
Like there's no growth. Like when I was 17, I was a piece of shit maybe, but now I'm.
But who wasn't?
30.
Who wasn't?
And exactly. And now I'm 30. I made a mistake. And again, there are varying degrees of mistakes, right? There are levels to mistakes. There are some shit that's just super egregious and some shit that's like, so I'm not trying to blanket statement that away. I understand that maybe some things are more severe and should not be blanketed away. Some stuff though is like, oh, okay, that was not great. You were young and stupid. Are you still doing stuff like that? Are you still saying stuff like that? Did you learn? Did you grow? Like those are, I think that's more important than like, oh, when you were 17, you said something stupid, get out of here. What are you doing now? What are the person you're now? Do you still believe that way? Are you still acting that way?
Absolutely.
That matters, I think, a little bit more. And we don't give enough credit to that anymore.
That's the thing, because if you're not going to allow people a chance to grow, nobody's going to be able to pass that test. Even the people that are, with the fucking torches and pitchforks, even they don't pass that test. And you see that happening time and again. Like it just happened with some girl that was some comedian, writer on a show. I think she was a writer for Robot Chicken. This girl Ellery Smith.
Yep.
She was all part of that Twitter mob that was always coming for whoever was, the target of the day. And then they start looking back at her tweets, and she's making the same kind of fucking like off-color jokes that she was going after people for. And it's like I don't get the mentality. It's like, did you forget about everything you ever said in your entire life? Nobody's immune. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's never said something fucked up.
No, I'm perfect. I've done no wrong in my life. And you said something that I don't like. You're a piece of shit. You gotta go. That's what it is.
It's
That's ultimately what it boils down to, unfortunately.
There's so many what?
That's what it boils down to. I'm perfect. I've never done anything wrong. You did something I don't like. You're a piece of shit. That's it.
Yeah.
That's usually what it boils down to. Like, no one ever thinks about like, well, maybe I said some stuff that you forget about the thing that you said that could be super egregious. But then now you see something that's egregious, and now you just gotta be mad about it, and they have to go. But
and then
no one's willing to like take the inventory of like, okay, maybe I said some stuff that wasn't great, and maybe I shouldn't necessarily put all this pressure on this other person to be a perfect human being. I think that's the other problem. People expect people to be perfect human beings, but no one's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are going to make mistakes, and they're going to say off-color stuff. And so give people the room to make some mistakes, right?
Yeah.
That's what I don't like, is I feel like you can't make any mistakes anymore. You have to be perfect. You can't say anything offensive. You can't have done anything that's even marginally offensive, or you got to go. And I don't like that.
It's almost like boxing in the sense where, like, because of Floyd was undefeated. So everybody's like, oh, you have one loss. Maybe you had 70 fights and you only lost once. Oh, but you lost once. You're not undefeated. Yep. And it's like, well, then that's not reality. Even fucking Ali lost. Like, nobody's perfect. Like you said, nobody's got a perfect track record. And as soon as you go back with the fucking flashlight, you're going to see. But that's part of that, I guess, the sickness of like social media, where everybody got addicted to like the mob mentality, like, and I'm going to get a little political here, but it was, I feel like around 2016, like when Trump got elected, everything like that, everything kind of got flipped on its ear. People didn't know what to do, especially if you're like a liberal or whatever. You're like, what does this mean now? Like, I'm going to join the resistance. This is great. I don't want to be part of that. This is going to be like the Rebel Alliance and shit. I'm going to fucking get an X-Wing and, fight Nazis. But what ended up happening is that people it's like they started putting the cart before the horse. It's like, well, I know this guy's bad, so anything he's saying is I got to find a way to verbalize and put into words how it's bad. But people stopped thinking about what people are actually saying. Like like you said before, it's like they're a Republican, so they must be a fucked up piece of shit. You know what I mean? It's like you're not giving people a chance to speak, to be who they are. You're just assuming the worst about people. And how can I word this? I kind of got a little fucking carried away there talking about X-Wings and shit that I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like,
anyway, I don't really know
for this cause now, but
yeah, but everybody got so worked up and trying to fight back against what they saw as like evil or bad that they stopped kind of using rational thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So well-intentioned people got carried away.
Yeah, and they ended up becoming the thing that they hated at a point.
Exactly.
Because
dude,
what is it? Yeah,
I can't say that enough. You said it. People, when you fight against monsters, you have to be careful you don't become a monster yourself. Yep.
Because was it like the 80s or whatever when they Ronald Reagan's wife or whatever, they're burning CDs and trying to censor people and doing all that kind of stuff, and now we're doing the same thing, but it's coming from the liberal side. They're trying to censor people, and they're trying to like with all the stuff, but you don't see that they were doing this before, but now you're on the other side of it because of what you're trying to censor, you have a higher moral high ground, maybe because
but they thought that back then too.
Exactly. Like, So why is that different from what you're doing to some level? Because I get it's weird for me because I definitely try to be a human being who try to see things from other people's side or see both sides of the thing. So I understand it where it's like, yeah, some of this stuff is probably really bad, and I understand why you're maybe trying to censor it, but also at the same time, it's like, hey man, maybe you should just chill and be like, okay, I don't agree with what you're saying, but you also have the right to say it, right? Especially in America, you have freedom of speech.
That's what it is. I mean, even the fucking ACLU was fucking defending Nazis' right to protest in Skokie, Illinois. Like they're saying, like, listen, I hate what you're saying, but I'll defend your right to say it till my dying breath. Yeah. That was what I forget whose quote that was, but that was a thing. Yeah. Like
it's freedom of speech, not freedom of speech I like.
Yeah, but it's also freedom of speech, not freedom from consequences.
That is also true. Yeah, yes. So you can say whatever you want, but if I jab you in your eye socket, okay, that's on you. You can say what the fuck you want, but also be prepared for your consequences.
Exactly.
Also, another thing Charlemagne says, he's like, listen, you can say what you want, but you can't dictate how people are going to react to what you say.
Exactly.
So you gotta be prepared to take the consequences of the things you just said.
Yeah, you gotta understand things from all sides too. Yep. Like that's what he's saying. Like you can't just be the guy that it's free speech. Like you can say it, number one, but you can't. Like you said, you can't tell people how to react. And the other thing, people like to argue the First Amendment, free speech. Like, no, you don't really understand. You probably haven't read how this really works. It's freedom from persecution from the government. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean fucking Jim next door can't fucking catch you on the sidewalk with a mean left hook. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
freedom of speech, not freedom of consequence.
Exactly. So I don't know. I get upset because I've always been kind of like a liberal guy, and especially for me, 5%. Comedy and comedians have always been the people that spoke to me the most because I grew up watching George Carlin. He was always a smart dude, and he always spoke about politics, and that kind of, especially in, like you said earlier, like your formative years, like your teens and stuff, that's really where you kind of figure out who you are and build an identity as a human being. Yeah, that he was someone that always spoke to me, and I always liked the thing he said. I'm like, it makes you fucking think. He would always just point out little things that we all do, but we never really think about. And
that's funny that you brought up Carlin because
I would actually say that I kind of feel bad saying this, but I would probably attest to the fact that I'm non-religious and don't believe in religion. I would attest that to Carlin, and I broke. That's understandable. I broke not only my mother's heart, my stepmother, my father. Like I broke all their hearts. My
everybody.
wife.
It's like no religion for me.
I don't buy that shit. It's not.
Oh yeah, because
God doesn't exist.
She's probably super Catholic, right?
I mean, she listen. If she listens to
Catholic
this,
enough.
Listen. I'm just gonna say this. I'm just gonna say it. Okay, if you're listening, bear with me. I'm sorry. Okay. Obviously, Hispanic, Cuban, like they do believe they're very religious, they're pious people. But even she is like, they don't go to church. You know what I mean? Okay. Like they don't they belong to a church back in Cuba, which, but it's not like they're like practicing Catholics. And even that, like I always talk to people who are religious. I'm like, oh, well, do you believe this part of the Bible? Like, no, that's just a story. It's like, well, why is that just a story, but this part's not a story? You're picking and choosing what to believe. Like, why don't you just say, I believe that fucking, Blue Jays are the sign of God? You're just making it up as you go.
Yeah, I'm not. My mom is pretty religious. I am not religious at all. And it baffles me to a certain extent when people are, but I will not knock anyone for their beliefs because if that helps you make it through life, do whatever the fuck you gotta do. But I have a friend who was fucking smoking weed, had premarital sex, was doing all types of wild shit, but can't eat fucking meat on a Friday. Right. I'm like, that's the thing you can't do. That's the one thing you can't do, but everything else, fair game. You know what I mean?
Hookers are fine, but
but I can't have a hamburger on a Friday. Cool. If it helps you make it through your life, then do whatever the fuck you got to do. That's why I don't necessarily. If you're not using religion as a way to like persecute other people, do what you got to do. If you're using religion to be aggressive other people, then then I have a problem with that.
I always thought of religion as like a primitive way to just keep people in line. Like, so, listen, you guys better fucking stop killing one another, or the big guy in the sky is gonna have something to say about it. You know what I mean? like, simple people in a simple time, they'll buy that shit, but it's 2021, I don't believe that, God is going to strike me down. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I don't know what else to say to people. And like you said, I don't fault anybody. If that helps you sleep at night, if that gives you a reason to be a good person, great. Go ahead. More power to you. But if you're using that as a fucking excuse to subjugate and oppress other people and try to make people live by your own weird standards that you cherry picked out of an ancient fucking book, then we're not going to see eye to eye
at all.
So that's where I fall. Man, we got way the fuck out there.
Yeah, we was like, podcast. No, fucking life. Let's just do life. Let's just talk about politics and religion and just being a good person.
You know what it is? Like the first time you did this show, like I had my notes and everything. I wanted to stick right to them. This time, I've kind of gotten a little more comfortable with it. Like I have my notes too, but I let the screen turn off, so I'm just going to leave it there. I would rather let it go where it goes, especially because it's not our first podcast together. Yeah. And like it goes back to what we were originally talking about. Like I've listened to your show for, essentially I've listened to every episode at this point. Yep. So, I do feel a little more familiar, especially like with you as a person, even if you don't know me in the same level. Yeah. But I feel like we can have a conversation, and there's a certain level of familiarity here.
Yeah, which is I guess it's funny how this whole thing became about, which is why I posted that meme, and I feel bad that I felt like you took it the wrong way.
No, I was fucking with it. I was fucking around.
I was like, I was like, oh damn, I didn't mean it the way that you seemed like to take it. I meant it like, oh no, we're cool. It was like, oh, it's a podcast. I was like, oh, this is funny because I can't make real friends. I can't make friends in my personal life like physically. I made one over the internet. So I thought that was funny.
I was actually a little bitter because you found that meme, and I'd seen the meme, and I was trying to think of a way that I could fuck with it and make it my own and like change it kind of, and I couldn't figure out for months and months and months. And you posted it. I was like, fuck, he got it before I could figure it out. God damn it.
Yeah, made a friend, man. I made a friend.
But it's true,
wasn't it? Yeah, which is true. Yeah, because obviously I'm now currently invested in your life. I am excited that you are having your another child, and I'm excited for you, and that's happening soon.
Naming him after your grandfather?
After my grandfather, which I don't think anyone knows about that until now. So that was cool.
Yeah. Hey, a Pot Amongst Men exclusive, right?
Yeah, even though it's not after my grandfather, but he will have the same name as my grandfather, which is cool when you told me about that. And I think we talked about that. And again, it's not like we talk every day, but we have had conversations once in a while. And I do know some going on in your life, and you think a little bit of what's going on in our lives, my life, and Domino's and Bobby's lives. So it's like, yeah, you have become a person that I want to see do well and hope the best for. Like that's cool. Like I didn't think starting our podcast that we'd meet someone else who's doing a podcast and like be like, oh, that's just a generally cool person, and I hope the best for them. Like you don't think those things like that's not in your purview. You're just like, I'm gonna do the show.
You never think about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna just do the show and try to have fun. And like, oh, we met someone else and he's pretty cool, man.
Well, it's funny because you never, like you said, you never think about it when you start off, but just you doing your own thing, people tend to inspire other people. Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, I was inspired by you guys. Yeah. Like I don't want to put it out there and say like, oh, I saw you guys, I could do that better. I wasn't like that.
No, that's what I mean? Like, oh, if these bums can do it, I can do it way better.
No, I wasn't one of those things. I was just like, yo, I like the fact that they can do it. I want to do it too. Is what it was. Yeah. Like I want to be part. I want to have fun. It seems like a cool thing to do, and obviously we're not totally in the same lane as far as podcasts go, but there is some level of crossover there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some level.
Yeah.
I mean, I know yours is more interview conversation. Ours is topic based to a certain extent. Topics and air quotes.
You. I mean, obviously, like your thing is like is a nerd based podcast. You know what I mean? Like I could only kind of say that mine has nerd aspects of it, which I would love to. I would love to do what you do, but I don't have two other people here that I feel like would help me be able to carry a show. Yeah, and that's no knock on my friends, but they all have their own lives. They have shit to do, so it's not like I don't know. I don't have other people that I feel like would be as invested.
And that's just not easy either. I mean, I think again, it works well-ish for us because again, Bobby's pretty chill. I'm pretty chill. Domino is chill-ish. So that works. He's chill. And I don't want to act like he's not. So it works that I don't.
So what you said before we started recording that he was a super angry black man, that's not true anymore?
Oh, no, it's true. It's also true.
I can cut this whole thing if you want.
Two things can be true. No. No, but...
We're kidding, Dom. We're messing around, buddy.
Yeah, no. But it works because we, knock on wood, so far haven't really had we haven't really argued about stuff. I think it's generally like, hey, can you do this thing? And we'll try to do it. Or like, hey, you do this thing, you kind of do it. And everybody kind of does. If you say, hey, do that for me, and then he'll kind of just do it. And if you ask me, I'll try to do my best to do the thing. And then we kind of just come together and do the thing. We haven't really necessarily gotten arguments, but we're also not really making money. So I think that would be the next step where we'll really see what happens. Once we actually start really making some money, I think that will be the test to determine how things go for us.
Hey, Hesh, let me just tell you this. I'm going to tell you this after we're done recording. We're going to be done in a couple minutes. So, but once we stop recording, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel a whole lot better about that subject. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Nah, it's all good. But anyway, I'm gonna get you out of here pretty quick. But I don't know. Like, one of the last things I want to say is that I feel like now so many people see, the podcast market is very flooded.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, very oversaturated. Everybody's got a podcast, especially like we were talking about Joe Rogan. Every time he has fucking somebody come on the show, he's like, you should start a podcast. Bro,
exactly.
Shut up! Stop saying that.
Stop.
There's too many.
I'm trying to get paid.
Yeah, there's too many.
You're famous already, bitch.
That's the thing. I'm just some fucking jerk off from Jersey. Who the fuck is gonna listen to me?
Yeah. Who's gonna pay me?
Fucking the Powerpuff Girls want to go start a podcast. Like, fuck, now I'm losing to them too. Great.
What the fuck?
It's just,
yeah.
The market is very flooded right now, and it always makes me wonder, like, why do people still want to get into it? Like, you don't realize it's so late in the game as it is. Like, what do you think is going to happen? But I've always been happy to see that you guys have a niche, and that, it seems like, I don't know, I feel like you're cutting through. I feel like everybody I've directed to you has been like, yo, those guys are cool. I like them. They're funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my little cousin Raymond. Like, shout out to Raymond if he's listening.
Yep.
But him, Rashad from Jersey City. I see he's always commenting on your stuff now. The main man Adonis.
Okay.
On Instagram.
Okay.
But like everybody, I don't know, everybody that I've directed to you, I feel like has enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'd like to see you guys succeed. I try to be as supportive as I can. I gotta give you credit too. I gotta give you credit too. There's nobody else out there posting my shit on Facebook before even I get a chance to.
Oh yeah, well, listen, I'm up and I wake up at like 4:30 in the morning so I can get ready for work because I have to be because my job is like 45 minutes away. So I have to get up to get my motor started or I'm gonna be late. So I get up and so I can take a shower and so I do have some downtime where I'm sort of just sitting there just trying to
collect
myself. So I'm fucking bullshit. I'm on my computer. I go to YouTube. I see it. I'm like, okay, go on. Let me just share that. Like, because I don't know if people really understand how much that matters and helps when you're trying to do something, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I share it and unfortunately maybe nobody actually clicks on it, but it's like maybe if I do that for a year straight, one day somebody might fuck around and say, what is he always posting shit? Let me just look at this. Mm-hmm. And be like, oh, that was really good. And then now you have, I'm gonna follow this and now you have someone who listens. That's how you build an audience. Share the shit, show it. And so, you might keep posting and no one ever fucks with it. Maybe one day somebody might do it and they're like, oh, what? And then you just gain a listener. So it's a slow process, unfortunately, for us and for you. But also to respond to the thing you're saying, it's late and early to get in the podcast game. I think it is flooded, unfortunately, but I also do think they're still just now trying to figure out what everything is, especially in terms of properly compensating people and getting the financial aspects of things. So I do think we got in at a decent time. It might have been better if we could have gotten a little earlier, but our lives just weren't there. I think we kind of coalesced when we got together, and we're making do what we're doing. So I do think there's room for us to grow. There's room for you to grow. There's room for people to grow. There's even room for people who start some shit right now to grow. Like there's room because they're still trying to figure out what the rules of this thing is. It's a whole new thing. It is unfortunate that the market is so flooded because it's like you get all these people with celebrity, and it makes it harder for people who don't have that to sort of gain some ground. But then the inverse of that, I do think, is that if you do get people who fuck with you, they're really gonna fuck with you because they're on the ground floor of some shit. And I do think that's the general difference. So like Amy Schumer had a podcast, and maybe that's gonna get way more views than we got because she's Amy Schumer. But I haven't heard anyone talk about Amy Schumer's show ever since, besides the fact that it existed. Like, and that's no knock to her, right? She's just doing some shit because she can do some shit because she got some money. But we're doing some shit because we really want to do this, and I do think that translates to having some really cool fans who fuck with us.
Well, I'm gonna bring it full circle right now. Here you go. You know, you could have, like you said, Amy Schumer. You could be a big, widely known name and start a podcast, and it really doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it's people like you and me who've, pained and fucking worked and bled over this stuff and really fought to put it out there. And it's the people that really fuck with us, that identify with us and relate to us. They're the ones that they're gonna ride with us. They're gonna stick with us through thick and thin, because at the end of the day, they've been with us through all the struggle, and they feel like they know us. They're familiar with us because they've listened. And at the end of the day, they feel like they have some kind of relationship with us. Even if it is, we all understand it's a lot of times it's really only a one-way relationship.
It's one-sided, unfortunately. Yeah. To some, like I was, like I said, I speak to you. I've spoken to Curtis before. I have spoken to James for a while. I spoken to Marcy Cherry. Marcy Cherry helped me get this microphone that I have right now. Marcy Cherry sent me money so that I can buy this microphone when we switched over from working in the studio to fucking work at home. Like, so we have some cool ass fans who are willing to like fuck with us. Like, in this mic wasn't $1. Like, I mean, like he sent me a decent chunk of change, and I like.
Listen, Marcy Cherry can fuck anybody up. He probably beat somebody up for that money. Okay.
I mean, maybe I don't know how he got the money. Listen, I don't know how he got the money. I just know that he got it.
Find me now.
And he gave it to me, and I was like, "Thank you." And then I showed him. I showed him like I brought the mic with them. Like I didn't want him to think I'm just taking your money. Like so, like we got there's people out there who fuck with, like Alex fucks with us. Like there's people who listen to the show who like really fuck with us, and like that's always going to be a trip. And
you know what's cool about your show and the people that really fuck with your show is that they fuck with each other.
Yes.
Because Alex, Marcy Cherry, those guys all like support me whenever they can. Like,
yeah,
they've helped me. I mean, fucking Marcy. You know how I Dom said this at one point where it's like sometimes like in the podcast game and you're creating content, there's times when it's like, fuck, like why am I even still fucking doing this? Nobody gives a shit anymore. And you get like that one person that reaches out it always comes right at the right time.
Right when you need it.
Right? And both of those guys, Alex and Marcy Cherry, have reached out and like just said, hey man, I like your stuff, or like they've shared something that little thing goes such a long way. Like you said before, where people don't realize how much that means and how much that helps.
Yeah.
Even if it's just enough to keep you mentally in it. Because I'll be the first to tell you, especially doing this alone.
Yeah, I know that's
fucking hard, man.
That's gotta be difficult. That's hard. That's something that I can't relate to because it is whatever deficiencies I have at least two other people to, even if they have their own deficiencies. I think we have enough to like come together, like we'll transform a Voltron to make enough to like propel this thing to some level. Like there's enough from Bobby, there's enough from Donald, and maybe not enough for me, but there's some for me to make this work somewhat. And I imagine being on your own, it's probably way more difficult, which is unfortunate. And like
full disclosure, and I might cut this out. I don't know. I didn't release an episode last week.
Yeah,
I was very strongly considering hanging the whole thing up.
Oh, were you really?
Really?
Wow, the
baby coming now. just kind of reevaluating things with life. Like, am I paying enough attention to my wife, to my kid? Am I getting too caught up out here fucking decorating this stupid studio? I'm a grown-ass man with fucking Ghostbusters paintings on the wall and shit. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's hard. And those little...
It's not
those little things, those tidbits from people that, like, the feedback, that goes so far. So anybody that's ever reached out that just gave me a shout, even like a fucking like on Instagram, like, it actually matters, And I want to say thank you to anybody who does support.
Yeah, and it's not a cheap hobby, right? And I think that's the other thing. That's one of the major things that people don't necessarily know, that you will spend way more money than you'll make for a very long time, or if ever, if you're fortunate to actually start making money. Yeah. Like there are just like small hidden unknown fees that you don't really know or think about at the onset of trying to do this thing that will eat at you. Like, even if you're doing it at home, you gotta buy the mic, you gotta buy whatever. But then if you're gonna host it somewhere, you gotta pay the hosting fee for something. So even if it's $5, that's $5 that you're not making for something. And then that adds up every month, $5 a month, whatever. It's however much money a year.
Bro, I've been lying this whole time. This ain't my fucking garage. This is my living room. My family's sleeping there. They got duct tape over their mouth right now. They're not on camera.
Exactly. And which is why it's like, the sharing matters. But do you know how frustrating it is that I have people who are my friends that I have been friends with since I was like 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, who don't share my shit. And then I have people who technically I don't know. Like, I think I've gotten familiar with some of the people, but I don't know these people. They probably know me more than I know them because they're listening to me talk, but I don't know. And they share the shit more than somebody. I think that you're supposed to love me, right? You're a human being who's part of my life, and you know what that is?
You know what that is? The people that we grew up with, the thing we have most in common with them is shared experience. Like our friends from growing up, from when we were kids. Like for me, shout out to Drew, George, Louie, those guys. Like, those are the guys I grew up with. I came up with. Those are my boys. Like, I love them with all my heart. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we came up together before we knew who we were as men, as human beings. You know what I mean? And as you get older, you start to find other like-minded people and realize, like, all right, that's my boy. Like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna love him. But we don't have as much in common as I maybe originally thought we did. It was just because we knew each other as kids. Like, we were growing together. It's a different thing. Like, I could find you and Dom and Bobby and realize, like, we have so much to talk about that maybe the guys I grew up with have no interest in. True. And it's not a knock on anybody involved. It's just, that's just the way life is. And especially as you get older, you start to find that more. That's why friends grow apart as you get older. Everybody has a family, and you realize the things that were holding us together were just that.
Aren't there? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even that they're not there. It's just that we realized that it was kind of like surface level stuff.
That's fair.
And it's not like, again, I really want to drive this. I want to be very clear about this. It's not to say that you don't like those people, that you don't love them, that they don't matter to you. It's not that at all. It's just that there's other people that maybe are more like-minded, and those people tend to find each other as you get older. Yeah. But I think that kind of doesn't get talked about a lot, especially with guys as you get older. Friend groups grow apart. Your boys aren't really your boys like they used to be.
Yeah, that is that is something that happens that we don't talk about, or I didn't know, or maybe if someone older told me, I just ignored it. But that is something that I see now, and for me, it's maybe a little different of an experience just because I am the sullen human being that I am. That I just sort of I do distance myself from people. So some of it is a lot on me. Of like, you got kids and a fiance or a wife or whatever, and you're having a family life, and I'm just over here chilling. So it's like, we're not gonna hang out every day like we used to. You got responsibilities and a child to keep alive and like bills to pay. So it's like, I want to see you, but so I've been fortunate that the people that I do tend to spend the most time around, even if I don't see them about once every 3 or 4 months, it's still, once we get back together, we're pretty cool.
Yeah. So all right, listen, bro, I don't want to take up any more of your time. You've been fucking super generous, especially pretty short notice, really. But
that was cool, man. I was shocked that you wanted to have me back on. I was like, oh shit, he's gonna have me back on after that last episode. I was like,
nah, bro. Listen, I enjoy talking to you whenever I get a chance to, and I want to say thank you also too for kind of giving me your opinion on some of those anime shows, because my son all of a sudden is obsessed with the idea of being a weeb. I was like, fuck, I like anime, but I'm not all about it like that. Like, let me ask
down the road.
Yeah. So he's in there watching Demon Slayer right now.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
He's in for a treat.
No, he finished it. He's rewatching it.
He's rewatching it? Oh, okay.
But
did you watch the Moving Train? That comes out this month? I think this month.
Soon.
Yeah.
I know we have a theater down the road. They said that they're going to have it playing there, so we're going to go see it.
Take me to see that, because that's it gets good. Like I read the manga, so I know how the whole story ends up ending. Okay. I won't spoil anything like that, but it gets good.
The only manga we went ahead in was My Hero, because
My Hero. Oh, are you caught up on that?
Well, almost. The thing is, like, his teacher, we did the parent teacher conference. Like, he just needs a little help, like, with reading. So if you could read with him at night, I was like,
I got something.
I got the perfect idea. I know what he's gonna like. So we went to the fucking comic store. We bought a bunch of the My Hero manga, and I make him read that. And that's
okay. That's an amazing thing, right? That you can like, okay, I can help him read, and it's something that he likes, so he'll probably be more willing to actually read this because it's something that he enjoys.
Absolutely. Right? You know what? And that's really what it is. And I wish my parents had figured that out when I was a kid.
Better than me forcing to read like Tom Sawyer or something, like with the belt in my hand. Just read it. It's like, oh no,
It's the THE, motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right. Hesh, thank you, buddy. I'm gonna get you out of here. Go have fun tonight, buddy. I enjoyed talking to you as always.
No, yeah. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure. Hopefully we can do this again. If I don't speak to you before your child is born, congratulations.
I'm sure we will. But...
I'm sure we will, but just in case, I will, say that.
That's it. That's the conversation. Shout out to Hesh. Yeah, make sure you guys go follow him. HESH JONES on Instagram. Is it HESH B Jones? Either way, if you look right here, HESH B Jones on Instagram. Make sure you go follow him. He's a nice dude, man. He's a cool guy. It's cool to talk to him on a Saturday night, have a few drinks. Shout out to X, DMX, rest in peace. Yeah, it's been a weird week, man. It's been a weird week. Obviously we talked about the passing of DMX, Earl Simmons. I don't know. I feel a little emotionally drained this week. So thank you guys for still rocking with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Again, make sure you guys DM me. I have the stickers here. $3, not a lot. We could do it through Venmo and Cash App. I'll send them to you. Support the show any way you can. I appreciate it. That's it. A Pot Amongst Men on Instagram and Twitter. I'm trying to be a little more active on Twitter right now. Being a little less active on Instagram, if you haven't noticed. But I'm fucking getting tired of social media, for being honest. Getting real tired of it. And anyway, make sure you follow the show on YouTube. A Pot Amongst Men is our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. And find the show on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, we're there. I think right now I've kind of made the crossover from sober to drunk, or from feeling good to drunk. That's what it is, because this rum is delicious, as my dad would say. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for you. I'm going to get out of here before I say something real dumb. I'm going to go inside, go to bed, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.